Hi everyone, Uncle Buck here with Rhyme Signatures, the nerdiest music review this side of taking a quarter, going downtown and having a rat gnaw that thing off your face. And today we are going to be doing a review of the new Crownlands album, Fearless. Loath as I am to open this review with a trite and predictable cliché, but the phrase imitation is the sincerest form of flattery really does ring true when we talk about Canada's exciting new duo, Crownlands. I mean, if I say to you prog rock and Canada, there's a near 98% certainty that you're going to think of Rush. And the 2% of you thinking of Mystery, I salute you for your equally refined taste and for setting up an obvious category and answer on the British game show Pointless. If you know, you know. Anyway, Crownlands exude Rush. They seep it from their pores and sweat Geddy, Alex and Neil into their instruments to the point that they have become saturated and sticky with the blood, sweat and tears from the priests of the Temple of Syrinx themselves. From the opening seconds of first track Starlifter Fearless Part 2, you will feel transported back to an era of flared trousers, long hair, moustaches and the kind of bold experimentation that only the golden age of prog can give you. But let's wind back a second here before we get too far ahead of ourselves. This is Crownlands' sophomore album and comes to us now after their self-titled 2020 debut, which garnered then some significant attention, netting a Juno Award for Breakthrough Group of the Year in 2021 and a nomination for Rock Album of the Year. Not too bad for a young couple of guys, and I think that's one of the things that makes Crownlands so remarkable. Rush sounded as massive as they did with only 3 members, but Crownlands arguably sound even bigger and more expansive, and there's only 2 of them. Cody Bowles primarily handles the vocals and drums, and Kevin Comeau juggles around the guitar, bass and keyboards. It's quite the sight to watch videos of them performing their songs live, with the gear setup required to allow them to handle all the instrumental and vocal duties without any touring musicians. And it certainly makes me respect them all the more, as these 2 are incredibly talented and they really do deserve to go far with what they're capable of. But I'll admit, at the time, I didn't really get the hype for the self-titled record. It was a brief 27 minutes long, mostly kinda quite straightforward, retro-sounding rock and roll, and I had honestly forgotten the band existed prior to the release of Fearless. I mean, don't get me wrong, Leadfoot has stuck in my head for years, but I didn't spend a great deal of time ruminating on how the band had any impact on me because, honestly, they hadn't. Fearless, though, has absolutely changed the rulebook, as in adopting a much stronger, proggier approach to their music, Crownlands have definitely levelled up into their specialist class and unlocked the deep potential that their debut hinted at. It would be incredibly easy to dismiss this band as just a Rush clone, or make the argument that they're only doing what Rush did 40 years ago, but worse. Yet I feel to be so dismissive to Crownlands would be to look past what could very easily be the next great thing. I mean, sure, there are moments throughout the album where I had a really strong sense of déjà vu, and I've internally thought, wasn't that riff in Red Barchetta? Or, wow, it feels like I'm listening to La Villa Strangiato. But I personally feel that Crownlands have succeeded in some ways where other bands have failed. To take your influences and wear them so readily on your sleeves does invite crosshairs. And there will be Rush fans, and prog fans in general, who will deride and snort at the band for cutting so close to the bone with their sound and feel. For me, though, I feel that Fearless skirts the line between respectful tribute and adventurous thematic reimagining perfectly. This feels like a multiversal variant of Rush where the band never made moving pictures and carried on with the direction that Hemispheres was going in. Crucially, though, I feel that the Rush influence is only really 1/3 of what I'm really getting from Crownlands' sound. There's just as much Led Zeppelin and Queen going on here as well, and Cody Bowles is definitely channeling the energy of Geddy Lee, Robert Plant and Freddie Mercury on so much of this album. And much like Geddy Lee, though, his unique falsetto will either make or break the band for you. And I can think off the top of my head, at least around a dozen people I know who would love an instrumental version of this record, but they wouldn't be able to stomach the full course. Me, though, I've always enjoyed Geddy's vocals, and I similarly gel well with people like Claudio Sanchez from Coheed and Cambria, so Cody's vocals were immediately palatable for me, and if anything, I would call him an extremely strong vocalist with a tremendous amount of power and control over everything that he does. Plus, he's drumming the whole time too, so, you know, to be able to belt out the notes that he does while slapping skins, that's some incredible talent, and I will defend him to the death from his detractors. Fearless, appropriately enough, is brave enough to launch the album with its 18-minute long epic Starlifter, and it is every bit the 2112 sized beast that it is clearly taking notes from. We have a brief keyboard intro before the song explodes into life, and the warm nostalgia that immediately pours out from the floodgates is intoxicating. This harkens back to my early teenage years when I first discovered Rush, and Starlifter gives me that familiar, easy-breezy feeling of having so few cares in the world, and I could just get lost in the music. It's an appropriately grand introduction to the album, and it would be very easy to assume that they have led with their strongest foot forward. And while I would probably agree that this is the best song on the album, if only for its bravado and creativity across its considerable length, it isn't actually my favourite, if that makes any sense. Epics are all well and good, and I do love them, but I need to make sure I have an uninterrupted 18 minutes available every time I want to listen to it, My personal favourite cuts from the album are the shorter tracks this time. Dreamer of the Dawn has one of the most anthemic choruses I've heard this year. The guitar riffs in Right Way Back are powerful and backed up by some joyous vocal work. Penny is a hauntingly beautiful and masterfully composed acoustic guitar track that has earwormed its way into my subconsciousness faster than any solo instrumental song has any real right to do so. And the album closer Citadel activates lighter at a live concert energy mode and pulls out all the right Led Zeppelin heartstrings for me to want to repeat it over and over and over. You see, that's the thing with Fearless. It's easy to assume that front-loading this album with an 18-minute epic would result in the rest of it feeling weaker and less engaging as a result. But if anything, I found that the opposite was the case. Getting the big hype, big influence track done first allows the rest of the album to breathe, knowing that you don't have this big mountain to climb at the end of it all. It's kind of like, going on the Big One roller coaster at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. It's an enormous scope of the thing. It's got this great big lift hill. You can see the whole ambition of the band laid out in front of you. You look to your left, you see this dense and layered instrumentation. You look to your right, you can see the catchy and melodic guitar hooks and vocal grooves. And you look straight ahead and you will find yourself pointing to the skies, the band's trajectory made clear and obvious for you. Crown Lands are aiming for the stars, and Fearless is the vehicle that's going to take them there. Then, of course, the lift hill finishes, and you've reached the top, and then the only way is down. And it's even more thrilling and exciting than the journey you've been on to get there. I was lukewarm on the band's debut and the more straightforward rock songs, but the progressive influences that have come out to play on the shorter tracks on Fearless has really made them pop. There's so much happening, and there's so much to listen to and appreciate, that you'll be in disbelief that this really is the output of just two guys. So, what else can I say about Crown Lands Fearless? I have had a tremendous amount of fun listening to this album, and it's one of the few records where I genuinely want to just press play again the second it finishes. This is a moreish, engaging, nostalgic slice of incredible progressive rock. This touches base to everything I love about Rush, but manages to push past the potential sticking point of being just a tribute band, and by the end of the record I am crucially thinking to myself, that was an amazing Crown Lands record. It would be so easy to give this just a cursory listen and walks right on by, as the band do wear their influences openly and without shame. And okay, sure, maybe this will never be as well regarded as Rush's classics, but for what it's worth from me, this is one of the most delightful albums I've heard all year. It does exactly what I want from this kind of album, and that's to make me smile, to feel the warmth of my youth and remember easier and more carefree times. Recommendation on this one is very straightforward. Grab this in physical format. Go see the band live if you get the chance, because frankly, wow, they look like a trip to see them perform these songs on stage. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go hop on my bike and ride through the open countryside to the sounds of Dreamer of the Dawn, and create some new core memories with one of the best albums of 2023. Do not let this one pass you by, it is a belter. This is all, of course, guys, just my opinion, as you know, so if you have heard this one, please tell me what you thought about it in the comments down below. If there's anything else coming out this year that you think I've missed out on so far, please let me know about it. I'd love to give it a listen. I'm always looking to hear new music. If you did like this video, Please do share it around your spaces with anyone else who you think would enjoy it, and please do consider subscribing for more content. If you really do enjoy what I do, please also do consider clicking the Ko-fi link in the description box down below to help support the channel. And until next time, guys, keep your rhyme signatures odd.